Josh. I'll just
Welcome back to the 2 Months podcast presented by Shadified Salon and Barbershop. They have 3 locations here in Edmonton. I am your host, Joshua Marshall, and our new co-host is with us this evening, Sunny C. Khan. Sunny, how's it going?
It's good, man. I'm excited. Exciting article today, exciting announcement, and great first guest for me to be co-hosting with. So
Yeah, that was a good article by David Staples, and everything is clicking in a good way. And yeah, we got a great guest in the waiting, so everyone's here to listen to him. So I'm going to toss it back over to you, Sunny. You can introduce our amazing guest.
yeah, so I don't know how much of an introduction he needs, but for those that don't know, joining us today is Dampy Brar. Dampy is a former professional ice hockey player with the Tacoma Sabercats, and as a fun fact, he's had a professional tryout with my beloved Edmonton Oilers. He's a world-class ball hockey player even to this day. He was an integral part and leader of Team India in international competitions at Worlds in 2009, 13, 15, and 17. Though he still plays ball hockey, his focus is now as a coach in the OHA Academy in Penticton, but it's his work as one of the leaders in the promotion of equity, diversity, and inclusion in the game of hockey that has really put him on the map. His work landed him as the first ever South Asian to win an NHL award, the 2020 Willie O'Ree Community Hero Award. In that same year, he was featured as one of the most compelling Calgarians. He has gone on to be part of several NHL South Asian celebrations, including being part of the Edmonton Oilers' first ever honor guard in their inaugural South Asian celebration. Damp, what's going on, my man?
Yeah, you could have just stopped at professional hockey player, but you went on, right? So no, I appreciate the introduction, Sonny, and nice to be part of this, Josh. Thank you for having me on, and it'll be a good conversation. So.
It sure will be. Right on. I'm very excited because I've got to watch you play ball hockey for several years, and then finally got to have a face-to-face conversation with you. I think it was like April or maybe March, just around there at Meadows.
Yep.
We were there to watch some family play some hockey, and I was there to watch some hockey too. And we finally had a time to finally meet. Harmon B introduced us actually, and so.
Yeah.
A great you guys are related, obviously, I believe. So is it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
where all the Brars are related somehow, some way, right?
correct.
So,
Yeah. All right.
and
Well, I'll toss it
then,
back over to Sunny. It's a pleasure to have you on our podcast, and the amazing success that you've had along the way, and the people you've helped is great. And we're going to listen to that story in the next hour to 90 minutes. Sunny, go ahead.
Yeah, so Damp, walk us through, again, for people that don't know you, give us a snapshot of, the journey from Sparwood to Penticton now and some of the stops along the way, both as, the ice hockey player, obviously the ball hockey player that, I met you as, to now as like a builder in the game.
yeah, it's been quite the journey. Hockey started for me at the age of 4, believe it or not, sitting in the front steps of my townhouse. Wasn't a busy street. There's a lot of East Indians that lived in Sparwood, all from the same area in Punjab, India. And so it's a coal mining town. And I remember would be 4 years old, sitting on the front steps and watching a road hockey game. And there was a mixture of players, right? From Caucasian players to East Indians and some of my older friends. And I was just infatuated at how much fun they were having. It was a tennis ball, not a hockey ball back then, and baseball glove for gloves. And nobody wore like goalie pads, right? Goalie pads came in a little later, right? So, but it just that started my interest in hockey. And my dad, we didn't have town is 3,500 people. Like we just got McDonald's last 6 months ago, and I was at my 30th high school reunion, and they're like, "We have a McDonald's here." I'm like, "Oh, we made it." Sparwood finally made it, right? We had a Tim Hortons that came in, and I thought that was enough. And then, living in a small town, my dad went up to the local store and he got me a plastic stick, and I still remember it. It was that came with 2 plastic pucks, and I went downstairs. We had this small little unfinished basement and in our townhouse, and in the puck, and I was shooting at like milk crates and all that kind of stuff. So I started enjoying playing hockey, replicating the kids outside, and that translated my love in hockey. And luckily for me, we had some East Indian players that are 5 to 6 years older than me that were playing ice hockey. And in our community, like if somebody's doing something and they like it, and that allows a better chance for the younger players to go into that sport. And I didn't know my parents probably didn't know where I was going to end up. I didn't. The first time I even went skating, Tanner Sandu took me out, and first 10 minutes I was pushing a chair, and then the next 5 minutes he took the chair and threw it aside and said, "Welcome to hockey." Remember, he was only 10, 11 years old. He's like, "You know how to skate already?" I'm like, "Whoa." And really confused, like, "Are you sure?" Like, he's like, "Yeah, you caught on right away. I thought you'd catch on in about 3 or 4 tries." So the love of hockey started, and if you want to know the full story, we'll be here for a while. But just loved it. Just loved playing road hockey. My dad was always playing with us as well, so he became a friend of mine, a sports friend. To have a dad that would play. So not only did he play street hockey with us, he would play in the basement. We just had this area. I never had a backyard rink, but in the winter times I'd be downstairs shooting pucks. But my dad put this wood paneling on because the drywall was killed. Like after there's holes everywhere, so he put this wood paneling up, and we'd be downstairs for hours and hours playing hockey with Punjabi music playing in the back, and he'd make me go in net. So I'd go in net, but I have a smaller stick where I can play as a player as well. So I would predominantly play in net. And to this day, my son and my dad play the same game, and my daughter. Like, they play the same game where my son goes in net and it's 2-on-1, but there's a net on the other side that he can score on. And that's what we did when we were younger as well. My brother, myself, and now it translates to my kids. So hockey's always been a big part of my life. Anybody that has met my mom knows she likes the Edmonton Oilers. Always wears that scarf around everywhere she goes. Even at my nephew's soccer game, she went there and she reps the Edmonton Oilers. Reps the game of hockey. And she's not a typical East Indian lady that will watch those soap opera Indian shows. She's all about hockey, and I thought I might need to get her some counseling after the Oilers lost in Game 7, because she probably wanted them to win that Game 7 more than anybody that I know, right? They've been big in supporting my ice hockey when I played. Recently, I flew into Edmonton and played provincials, and my parents pushed aside some events so they can come up and watch myself and the fans play hockey there. And my son was helping out in the background. So my journey never be complete if my parents were that supportive. I'm first generation. They came from India. There's a lot of players my age and older and younger that decided to shut down hockey, even though they were great players, because the parents weren't as interested. There's a lot of sacrifice that goes on, especially in a small town. Driving to Creston, Cranbrook Trail for tournaments, right, all the time, through the snow, through the mountains. But my dad never once ever second guessed me, and he just said, "No, keep going. Just keep playing." And he'd give me the gears if I didn't play well. I can just tell from the way he stood. If he stood like this, that means I need to go a little harder. But he had some hand gestures that he would give me to let me know where I was at during the game. But yeah, and from ice hockey to ball hockey, for me, I thank my parents. And now, I feel a little bit bad because we moved to Okanagan Hockey Academy, and my parents would even go to my son's every one of his practices. Like, whenever they got a chance, they were at 90% of the practices just to watch. When he was playing for the North Stars, all the rinks were nearby, luckily, but any games, obviously, they pushed aside their events for coming to watch games. And even my daughter as well, she was part of the AMP Academy. Whenever she played 3-on-3 games, or even in practices, my dad would show up, and it was a 30-minute drive across the city to do that. So a lot of family support. My sister was big on as well. She got adopted into our family from India. She's 3 years older, and her son was at our BC South Asian camp, the shirt that I'm repping right now. And it was wicked to see my son, my daughter, and Avir Baines play on the same ice, at the same camp. And it was a good special moment. And from a girl that grew up in India that had no clue what ice hockey was to, she's an Oilers fan too. Now she's transferred into Vancouver, the Canucks, because she lives in Surrey. And a great family support, and I'm very happy to be where I'm at right now.
Awesome. like you said, Damp, we can talk a lot about the different phases of it. But one thing, you started to touch on, and it'll lead me to my next question is, you've been part of one of the biggest ball hockey tournaments in Canada that's flown under the radar for a long, long time, and that's the Indo Canada Cup. But before I ask you about Indo Canada Cup, I'm gonna ask you a question I've asked a lot of people from the South Asian community. In your opinion, what is it about ice hockey or ball hockey that draws in so many people from India, Punjab, Pakistan, like that part of the world? I've asked it to a lot of different people and gotten some really interesting answers. So be curious to what you think on that.
Yeah, my dad was the youngest out of four. My mom's the youngest out of six that moved to Canada. Usually it's the eldest that move, and then everybody else filters in, right? So a lot of my relatives love hockey, right, and or enjoy hockey. They may not play it or may not put their kids in hockey. I know a couple of my nephews, my first cousin's kids, are now thinking about putting the kids in skating and hockey. So why is our South Asian community now more and more even people from India engage in hockey? I just think one of the things with hockey, it's captivating, it's fast, right? It's mobile. It's not. It's and a lot of the answers I got were it's Canada's game, so why wouldn't we like it, right? You see it on Sportsnet, TSN, highlights everywhere, right? If you grew up in like even the Vancouver Lower Mainland, all you see is Vancouver Canucks stickers everywhere, right? And you can relate that it's pretty simple. It's a NHL team. So the Calgary Flames, like if you're living in Calgary, like everywhere you go, you see Flames stuff everywhere. And Winnipeg Jets, same thing. And Toronto is just a different animal, right? So I think it's a game that it's intriguing. Like when my uncle moved down, he's passed away now, but he came to Canada on a 3-year visitor visa when I was younger, and he would take me to practices and games, and he would analyze the blades, the shoulder pads, the elbow pads, everything, and he just thought it was awesome to see all that go on underneath all the equipment. And he would look at the skates and he'd be like so fascinated about how a human being can skate wearing those, like everything. So I think there's a lot of elements why the South Asians are so gripped by hockey. I think it's the fan base part, cheering on, like the game. Like I said, the game is dynamic. There's a lot of body contact at times, right? Obviously it's reduced now, but like it's just the fun part of the game. Not very many South Asians will go, yeah, we love the fighting part of the game. They like the brains part of a game, like how quick the game and how much you have to think. Because field hockey is pretty big in India. Cricket is big, but cricket's a little slower, right? But it is pretty big. And then you got field hockey, and people are embraced in that as well. Because I was in Punjab like 4 times in the last 10, 15 years, 3 times. And yeah, they like their field hockey, but ice hockey just seems to be, people want to be, when you come to Canada and you want to be cultured. So you learn the language, you learn the culture. And one of the big things about the Canadian culture is hockey. And so if you want to assimilate, you got to learn English, and English is spoken in Punjab and taught there as well. All the signs are in English and all that kind of stuff because of the British rule and everything. But yeah, and one of the things that they enjoy is hockey because it's Canadian sport, right? What I kind of led off with.
For sure. Josh, jump in anytime here, but one thing for sure, and I've spent the last half of my life in ball hockey. I didn't realize what a big community it was here, and you see a lot of not just South Asians, but you see a lot of newcomers in general playing ball hockey. And to me, that made a lot of sense because it lowers barriers like cost. You don't pay for ice equipment, so all of that makes a lot of sense. We don't need to get into that. I want to see that game grow more, but something that you've been a part of for a long time that listeners might not know about is the Indo Canada Cup, right? Like even for myself, I think my first one was in 2015, and I think that was probably the third or fourth already. So you want to give us a snapshot of what that is, why you guys started it, and plans for it coming up.
Yeah. So the first time I caught wind of Team India in ball hockey was 2005. Ranveer Singh came to Calgary, and he got in touch with me and he said, heard you're a pretty good player. I'm like, I'm okay. And I was recovering from knee surgery. I tore my right ACL in 2003 in a Christmas tournament, and 2004, and I got surgery 2005 in January, and he came down and he said, you can't play. I'm like, no, I just got surgery in ACL. That's a pretty important ligament in your knee that you need to have and play. But he heard a lot of good things about my game of ball hockey, because even between my pro seasons, I would go play hockey. I wouldn't play nationals, but I played provincials in Edmonton numerous times, because most of the tournaments, I think every tournament except for one or two, the one that I played, maybe one, was in Edmonton, because there was more Edmonton representation. So we'd always go up there to Edmonton. It was good. It was good because most of our team was South Asian based, right? And it was nice to play, win the cities in Calgary and play. It started catching wind that there's players in BC and in Calgary area that are good players. So they wanted to expand that pool of players. And I didn't know very much about Team India. And when I talked to Ranbir, I got excited right away. And I was like, yeah. So we kind of set up a little tryout situation. So my brother, George Hall, and Rab Hundle ended up playing in the 2005 team that went to, I want to say, Buffalo. It was the Nationals were there. Sorry, the World Championships were there. And then the following year, it was in Germany. So my brother played in both tournaments, and he said it's great to play with other South Asians representing Team India from different cities. And after the 2007, they were sitting there, I guess, in Germany, and then they started talking about where the best players are coming from. Are they coming from Toronto area, Ontario, or is it BC? And my brother goes up to me, that the conversation led to, he goes, we should do a tournament where, so he brought up the idea to me, but he was talked about during that tournament after the tournament was done. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, do you think it can happen? I'm like, I love organizing things. I always did when I was younger. And I'm like, okay, let me see what I can do. And Jason Epen, myself, and Raja Sohal from Ontario. Jason Epen's from Calgary. And Jason was really involved in ball hockey, and we just came together like, let's do it. So our first tournament was in 2008 in Calgary, and we had 6 teams. And that tournament was in even year. The men's international tournament was odd year, so we thought we would use Indo Cup tournament as a playing ground to recruit players for that tournament. So all the best players were coming together, and then it was easier to pick those players to represent Team India. And that was our motive of Indo Cup back then. And so nobody can make any excuses of saying, oh, this person shouldn't be on the team because he's good. But, there's a lot of comparisons. And we wanted to kind of, create a smaller degree of any of speculation of why a person's on there and on a pick for Team India. So, yeah, and I actually helped in 2007 put together the email and help Ranbir behind the scenes of putting together proper details of the tournament because you're going to Germany to play. I did talk to a couple of parents for the young players to convince the parents to let their son play, the reasoning behind it and all that kind of stuff. So I was kind of involved in the backside. And then 2009, it was we're off and running for Team India, but everybody wanted Indo Cup again. So we had it in 2010 as well. And then it's 2012 as we started to have Pool A for Division 1 players, Pool B for Division 2, 3 players, and then fast forward to 2023, we had 23 teams. So it went from 6 teams to 23 teams, and with a girls division as well. And we also had a youth game sponsored by Hockey Equality, the last tournament that we had. So, and not to mention the tournament went up to Edmonton in 2018. And Sonny, you're right in front of me. You did a great job with your team to put that together. Let's be honest, you guys took it to another level, and that's what we wanted to see. And so there's no ownership on Indo Cup, but at the end of the day, we got to come together as a community to do that. And I'm glad that the first year came to fruition, and the second year, 2010, was supposed to be in BC, but the organizers basically said, nah. They told us in February, no, we're just going to do it in Calgary again. I'm like, oh, you should have told us a little bit earlier. So me and Eeps got together with our team. Me and Eeps kind of led the way, but then we got some secondary help, and then we got together, and And then I said, okay, if we're going to have a 2010 in Calgary, we're going to have a 2012 in Calgary too, because we wanted to get bigger and better, right? And we felt that we needed the control to do that. So big props for Eeps to jumping on board, and others as well behind the scenes to make it work. And I was just at the Harm Dollywell tournament, and everybody's talking about Indo Cup, and there was a consensus of having it back in Calgary, and the Calgary Flames want to be part of it. The NHL, I know, had talks with them; they want to be part of it. So, we're ready to rock that tournament in the coming year, and kind of have a date tentatively picked out. And it's a good. We're Indo Cup's in a good space now.
Awesome. Josh, I swear I'll turn it back to ice hockey in a second here, but just
I got
to
a
close
ball hockey question too, so we can go there whenever you got a chance. But yeah, go ahead, Sonny.
Oh, go for it, Josh. I have a scenario one for Dan. Go ahead.
Okay. So you were on the map for quite a while, and the one thing I know in getting to know you, Damps, is you're very humble. You carry yourself in a great way. But in 2009, I there was a team called the Edmonton Thugs that Daryl Robinson ran, and then he handed that team off to me. We called it the Animals, and then the Animals turned into the Savages because Louis took that team from me, Matt Louis, a good friend of everyone's here in this podcast. But around that time, 2009, 2010 is, you're probably definitely on the map before that. But that for me was kind of like my first taste of like Division I ball hockey, and playing that year, but also from that year on, even to where we are now, you've been such an innovator in ball hockey. Kind of just want to know where that kind of really started. Yeah, I obviously touched on some of it there, but do you recognize the impact you had not only for the South Asian community, but just for the game of ball hockey itself too?
Yeah, I never thought I would be looked in that capacity. I know several people have come up to me and said, the impact that I've had personally. And for me, even talking about that is like, I just wanted to do what's passionate for me. It wasn't really to go out there and get clout or respect from others. I just felt it was the right thing to do. Sometimes you feel that you can lead a certain initiative in a positive way and other people to catch on. Like even when Indo Cup happened in 2008, like a lot of people don't know. I can talk about it now. I did express this to other people. My wife was going through a first kid, a high-risk pregnancy. He was supposed to be born. My son Sable was supposed to be born in like end of January, last week of January. So remember, we're not young anymore, but I was only 31, and I was like, first kid, you don't know what to expect, and you're always looking forward to having a kid, especially when you're a sports dad. When I was 12, 13 years old, I was like, I can't wait to have kids. I want to have 3, right? So it doesn't matter what. I wanted a girl for sure. I wanted a girl because I wanted to be a dad that puts his daughter in hockey and supports her and stuff, even if she plays for 1 year. And obviously she's played more than that, and she's going to continue playing, right? But the thing is, like, starting that Indo Cup, I could have stepped away and be like, okay, family first, right? And I knew I can handle family and do this. So my son was born February 9th, and my wife had a C-section, and they couldn't stop the bleeding. And so the anesthesiologist put his hand on my shoulder and said, this is not because I know the medical field. I'm not a doctor by any means, but I'm always interested. I've been injured so many times. So, I'm sitting in this, and I have my son in my arms, and I was like, oh crap, this is not good. And he's like, yeah, it's there. And the surgeon's yelling at us, swearing, and I was like, this is not good. So, in my head, also, you're in that spot, and you're like, oh man, like screw hockey, ball hockey. Like I got to worry about this. Like like all these thoughts started coming in my mind. And what is she going to live? Is she not? But she obviously ended up living, and I still annoy her to this day. And but son's born, and then son goes through some issues. He wasn't, taking in the milk. If you know what I mean. Like he wasn't doing that. And after the 10th day of being born, he was at my ball hockey game actually 3 days after he was born. We had those pregnancy classes. So it was right by Montreal College back then. the rink I was playing was Legacy right there, and my wife goes, "We'll come watch." She had to watch the whole game after a C-section, right? She couldn't sit down properly, whatever. And then I quickly played the game, got showered up, and left. And that was I have a picture with my son. I'm holding a hockey stick and all that, and you can see the tiredness out of my eyes. Like I shouldn't even be playing, but it was kind of like a special moment. But then 7 days after that, he wasn't eating properly. He was kind of pale and all that. And I just had him like at midnight. I just finished like emailing Indo Cup stuff, right? Like making sure everybody's on board. And in my head, I was like, I felt kind of guilty, like kid's a newborn and I'm still doing this and whatever. I'm talking to Epan on the phone and all that. He doesn't know what's happening on behind the scenes. And then we ended up in the hospital, thank God, or else things could have went sideways, right? And the reason why I'm bringing that up is that the doctor basically said if you didn't bring him in, he was on his way out. Wow. So you would think then after that I would kind of push away from this initiative and just worry about the wife and the kid. I still did that and still managed it to be strong enough to keep going. And I know the initiative would be important, not for just that year, but in the future years. So I kept kind of plugging away, and I got a bunch of t-shirts that were sent from Toronto, Indo Cup shirts. I was folding them for each box. I didn't have to do that. I would stay up in the middle of the night, with the family and all that. I just felt that Indo Cup was an important piece to South Asian hockey, ball hockey, that could go in the future. And I felt like, not that if I stepped away, I think it would still been fine, but I just felt that I can do both, right? And after the tournament was done, it was a lot, but because I look back and sometimes you feel a little guilty that I take time away from the wife and kids. But my wife was a very strong person. She's like, I know what you like. I know ball hockey became the void for your ice hockey after you retired, because I retired at the age of 27. I could have played in Europe for 3 years, right, and kind of be done with it. But ball hockey, I played during my the summer breaks that I had, and it was good for obviously cardio and anaerobic training and all that kind of stuff. And I just felt that I wanted to stick with the game plan of Indo Cup, and I'm glad I did. And now my family's part of it. My son might be playing next year for a team. He wants to play on the A division, but we'll see how big he gets, right? He needs to put on the right side. So at the end of the day, that you go through some little bit of challenges and adversity, but I think when there's passion on the line and you want to be the leader in your community to bring everybody together for this game, and you have to take the hits, and you have to just take yourself out of the equation and just be focused on that. And that's why I'm sharing this, is that, there's a lot of times that you look back and you're like, how did that work? It shouldn't have, right? But it did. And the family's fine. And now my parents come to Indo Cup. They're always asking like, hey, why did you do Indo Cup this year? I'm like, and I go, we'll do it next year again. And my dad's like, if you're gonna play, you have to work out, he's always into, if you're gonna play in the A, don't make my name, don't embarrass my name. So at the end of the day, the impact, I think the impact just comes with your passion and the truthful intentions from here, not for clout, not for the Instagrams and social medias and all that comes afterwards, right? That's secondary. That's part of the routine now. But the biggest thing is you got to show people that you have passion and a big care factor for what you do, either if it's in hockey or basketball or soccer or any sport that you do. You got to see passion in somebody's eyes, and then people will jump on board and help and buy into it. So.
Very well said. That's awesome. Did you play with the Edmonton team? You played so much. What's that?
You played Blackhawks in the Edmonton.
Yeah. And did you play again? Sonny, were you coaching at the time? Or you playing against them?
Yeah, Blackhawks. I played. We played on the same team. My brother and I. My brother got hurt during practice, but he was on this team regardless. But I played with the Blackhawks in 2018. That was a great experience, and the tournament was really well run. That's another thing, is like you say you don't claim to have Indo Cup's rights, but when you start off with something, and then Sonny and his team took over, and the way they packaged everything off, the information and all that, I was like, it fell in great hands, and we'll probably talk about it now, is that in 2025 when we do it, we already kind of unofficially have a team together already ready to do that. Sonny's got great organizational skills. I got a few here and there, and then with Epen and Arjun Atwal, wanting to jump on and help out with with his AZ1 hockey and what he does with Parm Thaliwal Memorial Tournament. Like, got the right people there, and then I think it's going to be a pretty good setup.
That's beautiful. And again, come back to like the second question there. It's like, I just remember being around, never just playing the 1 year in Div 1, but provincials and whatnot, and just kind of watching you play. The awe that fans would have and stuff like that. It's amazing to see. And it kind of leads me into my next question. I don't know, Sonny, do you want to touch on anything there before we move over to
just my last question? And we don't have to get too deep on it, Damp, but you've spent the most time in international ball hockey. Biz Nasty posted, they were all up in arms. Why is ball hockey not in the Olympics when breakdancing and no disrespect to the other sports. Obviously, I agree. And then, I often wonder the same thing. So without getting too deep into it, like, in your opinion, how realistic is it? How close are we? And, what would be the steps that have to happen for that to occur?
I just think that we just have to have a meeting with the Olympic persons or their team that is in charge of allowing a sport to come in. I think we can all speak to it, right? If you're having the ISBHF World Championships and they draw a lot of great crowds in Europe and even in Canada and stuff, it is a sport that replicates ice hockey. Obviously, sometimes it's even harder at times because you have to run and do what they do on ice, right, without the glide factor. And but it's a sport that's actually in one way more welcoming than ice hockey, because when I say that is on ice, you're skating. Not everybody can skate at the Olympic level, right? But everybody can kind of run. You're at the age of 1, you're running, right? That natural skill is there. And so I think just getting in front of the right people and just showcasing, you just want to be like, here, grab one of the representatives from the Olympic program and be like, come follow us, and just not fly them, like take them from one ball hockey association to another and show them the details, the data. Like, look how many teams are in Edmonton and Calgary and Brampton, in Ontario, in Quebec. Maritimes, like, how big ball hockey is and what it does to the community and bring it together. And the national ball hockey champions, Alberta ball hockey champions, BC ball hockey champions, the legends, the masters, the men's open, the youth hockey that's out there. It is a no-brainer for the Olympic program to adopt ball hockey as an Olympic sport. And I know the ISBHF has signed off me as for Team India representative. Like, would you want ball hockey to be an Olympic sport? It was like a no-brainer, right? Like, hell yeah. But it just opening up the eyes, like, yeah, and people will see like breakdancing and other sports, and as Sonny said, there's no disrespect, but ball hockey is a sport, right? It's a sport of competition and some contact, and you know what? The best part of it is you got men's and women's divisions ready to go, right? That would be able to play, and it would really be really beneficial for the Olympics to have this sport.
Yeah. I want to close off on the ball hockey. I know Josh has some good ice hockey questions, but you made a good point, right? Like, one of the things I'm passionate about, we're all passionate about, is like, how do you make hockey more popular globally? I was on a while ago, and there's limitations from cost, but then also like geographic limitations, right? Like, you're not going to see an outdoor rink in India, Pakistan, Haiti, Bermuda, most of Africa, right? But that doesn't mean you can't grow fans there, right? Like, one of the top teams right now, the Masters teams, is Haiti, right? Like, there's, so that's a gateway into a sport that they can fall in love with. So that's something I would lean on too. I would hope that the NHL, and maybe they do. Like, I know you had success dealing with Calgary with Indo, so maybe with them turning an eye to it as a way to capture a global audience. But yeah, I agree with you. It's played by men and women. There's youth programs everywhere, and like I said, it's an access point to the pinnacle of the sport, like, which is ice hockey. But on that note, I'll flip it back to Josh so we can actually get to the more NHL side here.
And to touch on that, it can even be played in the Special Olympics too. Like, you know, the
100%.
sport is another one that could, you know, transcend and help out that sport and, you know, the people that are a part of the Special Olympics too. So, so great on you there, Sonny, for kind of touching on that. Move over to some of the NHL hockey stuff now, and obviously a hell of an achievement and an accomplishment, winning the Willie O'Ree Community Hero Award. I know it was kind of during COVID and all that, but you know, over the years, you've been able to be a part of some other NHL awards and being present and being there to be on stage to present this award to other great winners that have come along the way too. You know, how honoring was that, and how great was that, and how you know, positive it is. Even also the future winners for this great award. We've had Anthony Stewart on and talked about Willie and how great, you know, the connection that they have together. Can you talk about your connection with Willie and winning this this great award and all the great work that kind of came to this moment too?
Well, first, I got to congratulate and appreciate the NHL to have an award for such a the namesake of Willie O'Ree. You know, first player to break the barrier, right? They recognize that, and then they have an award for it. When I say this, I didn't win the award. I can't put myself in front of anybody and say, "Hey, I won the award." The way the process works is that, you know, they pick the top three, and then you got to get votes, right? And when I look back, is like people voted for me because they believed in what I was doing. So, and it wasn't just the South Asians. And you know, I've had messages from my ex teammates in the U.S. that I played with. Like Bob Strum called me, you know, and he was in Vegas, and him and I had a great relationship. A lot of hockey people that I played for or played against in my hockey years of ice hockey professionally, reaching out to me on Facebook Messenger and finding my number and just texting me, this is Fieldsy, and just want to say congrats. So this award is won by the hockey community, not Dampy Brar. Let's be honest, right? It was, you know, I could be the face or the person leading the way, but people had to buy into what I'm doing. And so you know, I was at, you know, 2 events that I did with my new platform, and I told them, like, you know, people are coming up to me, hey, congrats on the Willie O'Ree. I'm like, yeah, that's our award. Like, I mean, it's a community award, and it encompasses so many people that are part of that journey. And you know, obviously, it feels good to win an NHL award and have that. But I think for me, even like getting the award in Vegas or whatever city in front of the NHL stars is one thing. Who wouldn't like that? I think how it all worked out for how my nature is, my personality is. I got to get the award in front of my family, so
That's pretty special.
that's key.
That is. Yeah, no, it's you know, the work you do and the people that you have supporting you, Damp, is quite amazing. That's you know, I see it from my end, and I've obviously chatted with other great people that have you know, been able to be around you. And you know, one of the cool things I think is, you know, when you're there for the future winners, the winners that are you know, you being present for that, it's you know, all that great community coming together and all different kind of initiatives that happen. It's, you know, it paves the way for what we are all trying to do, and make this world a better place for everyone to wake up to and live in and enjoy and care and love. And you know, that's what life's all about. You know, make a difference, not just the living. And I think you live by that saying very, very proudly. So
Yeah, it's, and then you know, you hear from some of my close friends, like when they say that, like, oh man, but wicked if you got, you know, where you got to, and you know, you could have got the award there. And I'm like, you know what, everybody was over at our house. You know, I still was a little nervous. I already knew I won, right? My son stayed home from school. He was sick, right? And I was like, why are you at school? He's like, I'm not feeling good. I'm like, you actually like school. And you know, but I seen Hunter Ryan sing on the panel, and I was like, wait a minute, this could be a good thing, right? And that's the first person I called, just because he was on the panel, and after getting the news that I won. But that night, only a few people knew. My wife, my son, my parents. I had to call them, and just sitting there with their family. And when that happened, that was surreal. And like, got a little bit emotional before, but I couldn't do that with the people in that room, in that house, and still, like I said, I was still nervous. I'm like, hopefully they don't change this. It would be kind of embarrassing. Like, I thought I was gonna win, right? So, but no, it was good. And then as soon as it was announced, it just seemed to look like I watch, I have to watch everything through my lens. Like, my mom's cheering like she never heard this news before, right? And my dad, same thing. And my in-laws were there. My best buddy, who's married to my sister-in-law, that grew up with me, and now his son is playing hockey, and Cam and Harjeet and everybody. And again, my wife was she nominated me, and I was on the way to hockey when the link came through, and said, you know what, send this to whoever. I was like, yeah, sure. Like, Willie O'Ree. Like, I just seen I was on the way to my men's league game. I was kind of like locked in because we needed to win that game, right?
Yeah.
There's a 30-minute drive in the snow where the weather wasn't the best, and my wife calls me back. It's an individual award. I'm like, I don't know. You read for me, and figure it out. If you think it's good enough, just do it. If not, it's not a big deal. So that's the approach I had. I was like, and she's like, oh. And then she calls back the third time. I'm like, okay, now do I block her, or do I continue answering the phone calls, right? And she just goes like, this is actually pretty cool. And she did a little research. I had a later night game, so the kids were in bed, and she's like, yeah, actually, I'm going to put something nice together. And I didn't, to be honest with you, like, she put it in. I didn't follow up with her. I'm like, hey, how was it? What did you write? Did you write some good things? Did you tell them, like, I can do 30 push-ups in 10 seconds? Like, I didn't have that follow up, like, and then both kids come running down. I think it was a couple months afterwards, and they're like, you got semifinals. I'm like, how come I'm not in the finals? Like, what are you talking? I had no clue what they're talking about, because the email came to my wife, and they had their phone, and they're waving at me, and they're like, you got in the semifinals. I'm like, Dad only gets the finals, right? Like, what are you talking about? And I'm making jokes. They're getting frustrated, and my daughter goes, Dad, just listen. I'm like, okay. And then, like, for Willie O'Ree, I'm like, huh? The award. I'm like, sorry. Like, honestly, I was like, oh, let me. And then when I read it, I'm like, oh, the nomination she put in. And then it kind of came to me, I'm like, huh. Then right away, I was like, how many semifinalists are there? There's 3. Is there 4? Is there 10? Like, what's the number, right? They're like, they're kids at the end of the day. Like, they're looking at me going, what's wrong with you, right? But and then obviously when it came into top 5 and top 3, things got real. I got a lot of phone calls from people like, regardless if you win or not, you put your program on the map, you put yourself on the map of what you do, what you're all about, you put your family on the map. And so winning it was Alexander Briggs-Blake and John Hafferman were alongside, and I really thank them as well. I got to learn their stories and research them, and, like, let's be honest, like, we all do the same thing, and if one person ends up getting an award, it's great, but you don't stop what you do. And I told myself that I got the award in the mail, and the box come. I didn't even open it. My dad did, and I kept it. The box. We gave him an X-Acto knife to cut it, and he put it all together. Right? I could have set it up earlier, but I'm like, no, I got to get my dad to do it, and or my parents. They were both there and got them on video. So and then the award stays at their house, right? That was it. Now it gives me confidence to keep going more and working harder and so forth. So, you win the award, and you just don't sit back and be like, all right, you look at the fact that it's not my hockey skills that got the achievement. It's the thought process that I had when I was 12, 13 years old of helping the community that came to fruition and gave some value to it. But at the end of the day, I'm very fortunate to win it. But at the end of the day, it's not me that won it. It's our hockey community that won it. So
right. Yeah.
From that, obviously, it was a COVID time. It was weird. Things were done differently, but in the wake of that, I mean, we mentioned in your opening, it kind of, people knew who you were in the ball hockey world, certainly the South Asian community. This put you on the map, right? And following that, you had, it was kind of like the perfect storm. Like, in a bad way, kind of, because a lot of the stuff that you're advocating for that we talk about changing in the game was still happening. And so, I've seen you in several South Asian games and some of those experiences, and obviously getting to be part of the first ever Oilers one. What's that been like? And, I know obviously I saw you a lot at the Oilers one, and, you're a family man. I know that was the first one with your kids. Talk to me about that. Um, you know, favorites, what you hope to see from there, and yeah, what that's meant to your family.
Yeah, like the first one was in LA, but I'm gonna jump to the Edmonton one. Is that when you're for me, everything, like I was telling my kids that too. They were part of that BC South Asian camp, and I go, I'm not just doing that for, I want you guys to kind of take the lead in the future to help our communities, right, in the hockey communities. And I don't want to talk about just the South Asian, just be part of the hockey community, regardless of where their journeys take them. So for me, LA Kings, I was at their South Asian night, Dallas Stars. But one thing that was missing is that, my wife was missing on every one of them, actually. But at the end of the day, like she couldn't attend any of them. But my biggest thing was to have my kids there, and so from LA to Dallas, the first one that and Winnipeg as well. My wife called me on speaker, sorry, on FaceTime, and was crying, almost made me, well, she made me cry, and Gunny as well. But this Edmonton one really hit home because Edmonton's my favorite team. Grew up watching the Oilers, the Wayne Gretzky's, and everybody else. But my kids got to see the nice rink, but also got their dad, get featured and so forth. So that's pretty cool because I want to leave them with the positivities of what dad is doing, and for them to be in the crowd and to be part of it, and to see their old man not fall on the ice when he went on the red carpet was great. And but at the end of the day, I want my kids to be part of it. And when I talk to the Oilers organization, and how Sonny and the crew with Tony and everybody put everything together, Sonny Nurbal, Jesse Nurbal, everybody together, how they put it all together was awesome. And I really appreciate that. And dropping the puck is great, but the interaction with people in that hockey community at those events is surreal. So
Very, yeah, no, great. Sonny, you have anything there, or
No, I mean, like I obviously got to have my fingers on that one too, and surreal is the only way to describe it. Like I'm the same as Damp. It's my favorite team, Josh, as you know.
yeah,
But yeah, like another thing you said earlier, Damp, is like I just, there's so many people that could have been on the ice or on the screen. You just I wanted to be there. I wanted to be part of it. I didn't expect any of that, but it just felt like the community had arrived, and it was just awesome to be part of. Yeah, no, I'll flip
yeah.
it back to you, Josh.
Can you, Dams, can you talk about the creation of South Asian hockey? And, I know we kind of touched on some of it throughout this episode, but, what the initiatives are, what you're doing now, and, kind of the things that you do behind the scenes, and the help you're getting in front of the scenes too. And, how active is it now? And obviously it's growing, huge over the years here, but having these kind of nights throughout the NHL, and showcased on Hockey Night Canada, and all the great platforms that it's being in front of. But can you talk about the creation of South Asian hockey, and the passion for it too that this great community has?
Yeah, like, when I was 12, 13, and I alluded to it before, is I wanted to be in that capacity to help our community in the game, because I knew they lacked education for some of the parents, right? My parents got education from other parents. For me, it was basically that thought process. And then, even before I joined Opera Hockey, and I'll openly say it, like, and I'll talk about it because sometimes there's an elephant in the room because I deviated from there. But even before that, like, I was always in the community. When I played in Tacoma SaberCats, I got voted most popular player all 5 years, right? And I was always in the community, and I wasn't a fighter where, you drop the gloves and get clout that way. I made sure that I made all the community events there to sign autographs for the kids, and just was present there. And also every year I helped out a hockey team. Like I would go on the ice with the players. It was on Monday nights. I would take my skates and my gloves and my stick, just to see the kids, and the local celebrity, if you will, or a player that's playing that the kids can associate with. So that all those intangibles. I worked with high-risk children for 2 years as a youth care counselor. I worked with immigrant youth for about, I think it was 4 years as a junior high program coordinator, helping new immigrants settle into junior high schools and their families and all that. And when I say this, I went above and beyond. I would kind of interact with the families and even help them out with car insurances and home insurance, like whatever they needed help on, and they had that trust value. So I brought all those intangibles that I learned from real life stuff outside of hockey into like, what do I want to do? And I was doing hockey training for my buddies' kids. Like I remember having 33 kids on the ice at one point, and I was the only instructor out there. And I'm like, all the parents are lined up. I'm like, oh crap, where did I get myself into? Right? Because you got kids at the ages 5, 6 to 18 years old, and I just handle it. And I always wanted to help with their hockey skills and talk to the parents and educate them and help them out, like how the equipment is fitting and all that kind of stuff. So I gained a lot of passion to it. And so South Asian hockey, that whole concept has started a long time ago, right? And then Lally Tour opened the door. He started his program in April, and I just reached out to I was doing Instagram because of real estate reasons. I kept seeing his program, and I just reached out to him and said, hey, good job. I didn't ask to join. I just said, hey, this is great what you're doing. And he called me within a minute and just said, hey, do you want to join? And so we ended up talking in Red Deer. We met up, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is because people know that I was a big part of Opna hockey, the face of it, if you will. And then I have my South Asian hockey. So I wanted to give that respect. That movement is that, I learned a lot from playing ice hockey, and I know the culture very well. I can speak the language fluently, Punjabi. I understand Hindi, Urdu. So that really helped me interact with families and stuff. So, and with South Asian hockey, that concept basically was starting in my head a few years back, because I felt that it's the right move for me, but I just wanted to make it work in the other program. And we had a good talk, and we're on good pages and good terms now. And with South Asian hockey, like when I say this, is that I'm building a team towards different parts of South Asian hockey, from ball hockey to ice hockey to everything else. And from the time I was with that program to now, I've been part of the Parm Dhaliwal Memorial Tournament, and I repped South Asian hockey there. And a lot of people knew that there was a separation there. And then I started my own, and got a lot of great feedback, and got a lot of reassurance for the move. And then right away I did that hockey summit, which I thought we were going to have only about 30 kids, and we had over 60 kids in that program. So it's nothing new to me to continue on. I want to be in front of more families, more kids, helping them with the game of hockey, ice hockey, ball hockey. And for me, when I say this, I play all different sports. I love every different sport. I don't play a lot of golf, and I get a lot of knocks because of that. But I've helped families get their kids in basketball programs, soccer programs, even from badminton to volleyball to everything. So for me, I just want to be that, that contact point if a parent needs, and that they can reach out to me. So, South Asian hockey, the main focus is the hockey part, but I'm there for any other sports. It's not difficult. It's something I like to do to help families achieve what they want to achieve in their sports journeys.
And it's like and like you said earlier too, it's kind of been started with you when you're like 12, like really at a really young age. So you at a young age, we don't think of the platforms like social media wasn't anything there at the time, but as time has developed, you've been able to use your voice and your experiences and your knowledge and have the great resources around you to kind of grow the game. So I would say South Asian hockey started at a very young age, and then it turned also, South Asian sports too, because you had talked about you are connecting with other sports too, and which is, I think, is great. It's there's nothing wrong with like coming and going from something. And I know it's like we say the elephant in the room, like it's that's just life. And you've been doing it well before. You joined Apna Hockey, and everything was good. And then you're on to doing what you're doing now. And at the end of the day, there's no harm in that. It's how life kind of goes at times. But the fact that you look at what Arjun Atwal is doing too with his program. That's another way that you help grow for him, and the things that he's been doing through tournaments and on ice sessions. And even Sonny and I talking about something about kind of getting in front of people, and you and I were talking when we were all on the call before the recording, is getting in front of people for some courses, some things that are more present in person than present in online. So, and I know that those are things that you guys are both very passionate about, and Arjun's very passionate about too. Multiple people are passionate about it. It's putting the knowledge instead of just sitting there. Okay, you got to do a 30-minute course online, and it is what it is. I think you guys do a great job. For people that want to help donate to the South Asian Hockey, how do they get a hold of you, Damps, in terms of that and wanting to be a part of it and help putting hockey equipment in front of these kids and on some of these kids too?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it started like it's a new program, but it's not, the concept's not new. Well, let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
And for me is like you're not 21 years old just running around and just trying to be on your own, right? You're at that age when I'm 48 years old, where you evaluate, you look, you assess, and then you make the right move. And I talked to Arjun on the phone, and the reason why I talked to him is there's a kid out of Calgary that, and I'll answer that question in a second, but he is considering either NCAA route in the future if he gets there, or is a WHL route. And Arjun's been there, and then we started talking, and he invited me to the tournament. I'm like, I actually want to play too, and he got me on the team. He goes, "You're playing with me." I'm like, "Great." And then I go, "Oh, by the way, I'm doing a summit," and he's like, "Oh, I'll help you." I go, "It's going to be under a new platform," and he's like, let's go, I'm ready. And so he came to majority of my sessions when he could, because he had his going on.
Yep.
And we got along great. It was great chemistry there. He's a great, when I say kid, he is a kid to me, right? And I want his program to do well, and it's all about collaboration, coming together, right? And so my programs, we want to be a nonprofit and charity base, where we can get funding from local businesses to energy companies, provincial and federal funding as well. So I've already talked to different people in those capacities to help in that regards. But building the team and I'm working towards board members, and putting together a pretty strong program forward, where people, if and when they donate, they're like, we know the money and the funds are going to the right situations, not worried about where it can be going and all that kind of stuff. And I'll say this is, from the time South Asian, the talk started, the mindset, at the end of the day, I'm going to talk to my close friends, right? Even though I'm in Penticton, I'm talking to my close friends, talking to people here in Penticton as well. You're making sure that I'm making the right move. And then there's not one person that came back and were like, you know what, that's a mistake. You should be doing this and that. Everything's been a thumbs up, if not more, like 5 stars, right? And so for me, go on South Asian Hockey, southasian.hockey on Instagram. My phone number, 403-973-9179. You can call me, text me. We can exchange emails and figure out, for them to learn what we do. And it's not me, it's not what I do, but learn what we do. And then when the time comes for the funds to come in, it'd be a big thank you and a big appreciation, and it's going to go to the right people that we have, that we want to help out as well. So.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, I want to just chime in on it real quick. Like Josh, you've heard me say this before. I'm 86 born. My dad came from India in 74. I was a lock on any AA hockey team, a fringe AAA hockey player. And I remember having a conversation with my dad in my last year of midget, and he says, "So you're going to make the NHL?" And I looked at him, I said, "No." And so that was the end of my hockey career, like quite literally. And so one of the things, and I'll force Snap to talk maybe a little bit about it, is um, having someone that is a little bit more seasoned, that can speak the language, has been through it, and having someone like that could walk into a house, because it's not always easy walking into a South Asian household that's very academic focused, and saying like, listen, like, you're right, he's not going to make the NHL. We know that. But do you want your son to get a Ivy League education? Do you want your son to get to play in these schools, right? Because and that's there was a period where Damp and I were at odd odds, but I don't even remember why. But even at that point, I would hear these stories about those conversations. So I think that's so important. You don't have to talk about it if you don't want, Damp. And then the only other thing I'll say is, like, we referred to it as the elephant in the room, and I've spoken highly about the work that Up in a Hockey is doing, the Hockey Diversity Alliance, like everyone, as one hockey. I truly believe that if people are trying to make improvements in the game and trying to bring more people in the game, and they are upset because someone is creating something new, or there's been growth and there's space for new platforms, then they're probably not, their compass is probably not pointing the right way to begin with, and you might question what they're doing it for. um I'm not trying to throw shade. That's just the reality. Like, there's 2 billion South Asians, with Damp leading a program and Arjun Atwal leading a program and Lully and Up in a Hockey. There's still not enough, right? Like, more people need to be doing this thing, right? Not less. And that's with any change maker in any organization, right? Like, when you have good people wanting to do good things, like, we should all support each other, right? So,
Yeah.
like I said, Dab, you don't have to get into the stuff. Like, I've heard lots of these stories, Josh. You probably wouldn't, but I think that advocacy piece that you can bring is going to be huge.
Yeah, I think, and that's where in anything, let's just be honest. On the you look at your relationship as a husband and wife, you have to be on the same page when you have kids, right? You have to be on the same page for a lot of things, and in partnerships in sports, in programs, you have to be in the same as well, right? And when those don't align as perfect as one might want to, then you got to be able to assess and kind of deviate and continue on. So to your point, yeah, like it's great to be on Instagrams and go to events and put a suit on and here I'm here, or they're here, or who's here. But to be actually to do the work, to actually go to people's homes, answer questions, mentor the kids. Like, I've talked to numerous kids in Ontario. They don't even know me. They know, they haven't met me, but they met me over the phone, and I'm mentoring to them. 80% are hockey players, 20% are swimmer, basketball, soccer. So for me, is like talking to these kids and getting them out of the element of just talking about sports, like what do you want to achieve and so forth. So to Sonny's point, yeah, going into houses, like my wife would be like, hey, where are you going? I mean, I go to someone's house. Do you know them? Nope. Right. I'm 6'3". I can throw both hands, right, if something comes my way. But at the end of the day, like, it's been a great journey to talk to these parents and talking about, and I just love the fact that they're interested in hockey. I had numerous families come to actually my house to pick up gear. The first thing I would do is the kids, hello, hi, let's go downstairs, and they start playing hockey in the basement, and then finally we start talking about their hockey journey, and some just want to play for fun, some want to try it out, some want equipment because they like the son or daughter just wants to try it. I love that just the try factor, and the NHL is very prevalent in conversations. Like, do you want your son to play in the NHL? Do you want your daughter to play PWHL? Which father doesn't want their son or daughter to play at the highest level of hockey? But at the end of the day, I sit there and I talk about the intangibles of sports, of team sports, the work ethic, the team camaraderie, the pulling together as one, and making relationships, connecting, and so forth. And why do we think we play men's league hockey? Like, you think about it, like, I got so many connections of just hanging out with men's league teams. One year I think I was on 6 different teams as a spare. One's my main team, and then and I just love meeting new people that are in the game of hockey, and somebody knows somebody that I know, and you start connecting and so forth, and then you find out what they do for a living, and you know, if you connect that way, great. If you don't, you don't. But at the end of the day, like biggest thing is, I think the theme of my of this answering of this question is like, you got to be in front of people. The Instagrams come in afterwards, right? The social media platforms come. You gotta show people what you're all about, and then you can post all you want. But if you're worried about, you know, how many pictures you have and all that kind of stuff, and you know, showing up for events, I love. And Sonny's probably the same. No, Sonny is the same way. We love manufacturing events. That's what's key, right? And putting together. And Indo Cup's one of them. So we did a summit in with Hockey Equality. They set it up, but we had a hand in setting it up in Ontario. We did a summit in Calgary where me and another hockey mom, Jeshin Hare's mom, the son will be going to academy this year. Good friends of mine. She goes, okay, it was supposed to be in Edmonton, but just didn't work out. And I wanted to do it. And Hockey Quality's like, okay, well, we had all these meetings. We have to do it. I'm like, yeah, I can do it in Calgary. Well, they wanted to do it in Edmonton. It just didn't work out. And we got it done. We got 44 kids. Ryan Strasnicki came out to be a speaker there. Mackenzie Stewart was on the ice and was a speaker. I got to tell my story a little bit about it. And it went out to be a great event. We had lunch provided. It was all paid for. It was all taken care of. And so that's what actually makes things move, right? When you're actually organizing the brick tournament, which Sonny's part of, the Indo Cup tournament he did, and the other tournaments that he will do with ball hockey and all that. That's what actually is what's needed in our community, is to bring everybody together, right? And then the pictures will come afterwards. That's come second nature afterwards. So just want to touch upon that, and that's what South Asian hockey and you know, even Arjun, you know, what he's doing with his group is great. You know, Pratap Sandhu is doing a great job in BC. Samir Kela has his academy or his program. He's doing what he's doing there. Justin Rai, there's numerous South Asians now giving back to the communities for elite athletes and grassroots. So there's a lot of great people out there helping out the hockey industry, and we just got to all come together at times when we can to put together a product, and where family and parents and players are appreciative of and have some benefit out of it. So.
Yeah, super well said, Damp, and I agree. You know, a lot goes into those, but the juice is always worth the squeeze, I find. But I did want to say, you know, earlier I mentioned that Calgary, they were involved with Indo Cup. They obviously, the Flames see the value in ball hockey. I know the Oilers are partnering with BHE for their I think it's the third annual 3-on-3 Cup. So Edmonton's always been a leader there. I speak about that at length. You know, Winnipeg and Vancouver with the South Asian Knights, all of that stuff is going to continue to grow and be awesome. And you know, we'll be there to help and support along the way. But I wanted to, at that point, you know, talking about the Oilers 3-on-3 transition, you know, you're an ice hockey guy. Josh, what do you think? Is Damp going to be a fan or against some of these moves that we've seen from the Oil this offseason?
Well, it's been interesting, and obviously we hinted at the article that was at the start of the podcast by David Staples, and our podcast has been hitting some good ones here on some insider information, and you know, with Stan Bowman and a couple other moves, and you know, I just kind of wonder where your thoughts are at with the moves they've already made, and the fact that you know, Evander Kane plans to be at the Captain Skates early September. Leon Draisaitl is going to take less. The contract that was kind of talked about with his agency, from what I was told, and got it confirmed at the Hlinka Gretzky Cup, you know, he was presented a contract, or was going to present the Oilers with a contract of 8 years at $14.5 million. And he's going to take a lot less than the 14.5. Sounds like maybe he'd be around to come in around 13.3. So, you know, leaving over $1 million off the table and some more. Obviously, Holloway and Broberg will sign their 2-year bridge deals around between 1.1 million to 1.3 million for one of the players there. But, you know, great moves they made. I was kind of surprised at the Athletics article. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see that, but the Oilers were ranked 25th with what they feel about their offseason moves. They're future in their organization and the drafting and the developing that they've done. The Toronto Maple Leafs were 30th. The Utah organization was actually 6th. So pretty weird article that the Athletic ran that put the Oilers 25th. But I know I rambled on there, but we had some insider information. But obviously, if those things come true, I don't see Evander Kane being on LTIR come the start of the season. I've had numerous conversations in close proximity of him, and that is not the case. If that's the case, it's the organization maybe putting him there. But he'll have every record to show that he's healthy. He'll pass his physical. He'll be ready to go. He does not need surgery. But the moves they've made, Damps, and some of the things we just talked about there in terms of Kane, Draisaitl, Broberg, Holloway. Where are you at here? I rambled on a lot. Sorry.
No. When I say this, I follow the Oilers, and in the last little bit, I've been quite busy. Like you do jump on the Instagram and social media to see what's going on in the NHL and specifically the Oilers and so forth. At the end of the day, the performance they put forward, this last season, and you always talk about as a team. I still have those competitive juices because I play ball hockey with the Calgary Phantoms, right? And we're always having new players come in. This year we had a bunch of new players come in, and we did well. I didn't play during the season, but he's just using that as a reference point. But at the end of the day, the Oilers went from where they were in November and where they got to the regular season. Knocking off, and nobody gave them a chance against Dallas, right? Everybody thought that it would have been an easy series for Dallas. They put together a pretty good effort there, and then going down 3-0 and against Florida. So I think you can't change too much, but I feel that they got the right pieces, right? For them, you got your main pieces like Draisaitl and McDavid and Nugent Hopkins and Hyman and Bouchard, right? You just got to build if you can build a stronger supporting cast, the secondary scoring part, especially in the regular season and so forth. Let's be honest, the first line power play is the first line power play. That ain't changing, right? But I think they got the right pieces. When you look at some of the articles that are out there for not just even hockey, but just different sports, you just sometimes scratch your head where they get it from. And sometimes it's like they want to put something together, so it causes a little bit of a stir and a thought process. But being a sports guy, whatever team you're on, if you can come together and play as a team, and it's funny you say that. You think that every NHL team should be or a sports team, a professional team should play as a team, but if you come together and you're all pulling the same way, you have to have the right pieces. Let's be honest, you have to have the right players. The goaltending, the D, and the forwards, and the coaching staff. But if you're pulling the right way, what's the one thing that championship teams always talk about? Our locker room is awesome. Our locker room, so you have to be cohesive. You have to be on the same page on and off the ice. And the sport is way too quick now. The hockey's you have to be detailed, and you have to have a certain system that works for you, for that team. So going back to it, the players that if Draisaitl says that, hey, I want to take less, that means he wants to win that cup. And anybody that knows that, it's not easy feat to getting into the finals again, right? Everybody's expecting the Oilers to win it next year. We want them to win it, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a lot of pressure on them as well. Every team's going to be gunning for them. Everybody knows that Florida win in the finals the year. It happened with Vegas. They win the finals, and then in years afterwards, they won the Stanley Cup. Florida, same thing. They were bridesmaids, and now they're winners. So everybody feels that the Oilers might be in the same type of sequence. But at the end of the day, they got the right signings, I think. But it's all about coming together during the regular season and having a successful season and just carrying it forward, right? So that was my take on it.
I think it was great. Sonny, I knew you jump onto this too, but I just think it just set the precedent when you got guys like Hyman who took less. I know in the grand scheme of things, people that maybe that contract didn't look so good, but the other day he took less. Nugent Hopkins definitely took less. Adam Henrique turned down a pretty substantial offer from the Winnipeg Jets to take less to come back. Connor Brown made $4 million last year and is going to make $1 million this year. So, just guys took less to come back. We obviously seen that emotional video of them, in the locker room. And then we saw and heard what Hyman said. And, it's hard not to believe his words and in terms of that and believing that that's a special group. He hopes everyone comes back. For the most part, everyone did come back. But Sonny, you go ahead there on your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, first, I just everything that was in the article, like the signing, I just don't know how they're going to be cap compliant, right? Like, Kane is a big chunk, and whether if it's not Kane, I just don't know how they get it. It's not like other leagues where you're fined. It's like it's a hard cap. Like you can't do a deal unless it's there. And I haven't looked at it lately, but they got to be pretty close to that ceiling. But they're like that's now Stan Bowman's job, right? Like he's got to figure that out. And then the only other thing, right? Like I think I think everyone expects the McDavid and Dry era to win a cup. People probably like myself have wanted to see it sooner, but nothing's a guarantee, right? Like our roster, I think today is better than it was after Game 7. The additions, you'll have a coach that has now got a full year to push those levers. You'll have Coffee a full year with a kid like Broberg that played the best hockey of his career in the hardest situation. But it's also the NHL, and like nothing is a given, right? It's do I think they make the playoffs? Yeah. Um, anything can happen, but I've said this before. I just even this year, I had a hard time picturing any team that can beat Edmonton 4 out of 7, and I'll say the same for next year. But I'm just looking forward to it. Looking forward to ice hockey, and but yeah, I mean, we don't have to get too much into it because I'll rant about the Oilers forever in coming months. But yeah.
Well, it's good we gave it some play because obviously that article came out. It's going to be a busy week in terms of, I'm sure, it's going to be a topic around the city, and it is interesting how it's going to work out. But Evander Kane holds all the cards, and the fact that he's got a no move clause and he's not willing to go. Are there teams calling on him? Yeah. I at the Heinke Gretzky Cup, the reason why I know that the Ducks organization are calling on him because there was a conversation at the Heinke Gretzky Cup about that in terms of their staff fielding some offers, thinking what that could be like. How does that look? They didn't do a lot of moves, that organization, this summer too. So and the LA Kings want to get tougher, but the good thing is Evander Kane has invested his time here. He's built another house. His kids are from here, and he loves this city. He's hosting events here. He just hosted an event downtown not too long ago. He's willing to grow this community, and he's involved in some real estate here. He's involved with some home builders here. That's what you want. He stays here pretty much all year round. Like he does go get a break that everyone needs to get a break, but he's one of the rare players that is here, throughout the summer months, and he wants to be here. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing if you leave. You definitely need to shut it off at times. The city, as we know, is beautiful in the summertime. It's amazing. It's, yes, it gets dark early in the wintertime, but at the end of the day, the city they're very passionate for the people that, want to be passionate for them too. So, and I like that the community is going to bat for him. If you have a healthy Evander Kane, you're winning a Stanley Cup. So like they beat the Florida Panthers, in my opinion. So I think that X factor is huge, and he's a unicorn. I would never want to give that up. And he's a part of an organization that is shifting has a great culture and is adding to this culture. The Stan Bowman hire was tough with some people, with some fan bases here, but this organization, as we talked about in the past, Sonny, and you said it, they're famous for second chances, and they're showing it again with this general manager. And and I think it'll go good. I know that there's some pundits that say, well, look at some of his draft history and some of the free agent signings that Stan Bowman, take the other situation away. Look at some of the things that he made towards the tenure of his time in Chicago, but he's been given a great team to work with, and now he's got 2 big contracts to work with, and then a third one in Evan Bouchard. And everything we know and we've heard through our podcast is that conversations I had is that, Draisaitl, McDavid, and Bouchard all said we need to take less if they're going to win. You really think it, if they take every dollar they possibly can make and you add Nurse's contract into that, that is 50, I think it's $52 to $53 million in tied 4 players. You're not winning a Stanley Cup with 53 or $54 million tied in 4 players. We've seen that. Like, I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. It hasn't happened, ain't going to happen. It's never going to happen. So, if these guys take a little bit less, that 53 turns into like 49 or maybe even 47. I think that's different. I think there's a huge difference in that because you're going to have the Jeff Skinners and the Arvidssons and those guys coming back, and these guys don't want to lose CC either. CC's a key part of that organization and that locker room. And it ties into what you guys were talking about earlier, but I don't know if you guys want to add anything. We've rambled on a lot here. Are you guys pretty good?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Oilers season. It's going to be interesting, right?
Yeah.
It will be interesting because, like I said, getting in the finals and doing what they did was very dynamic. Where they could have won the first game and things could have been different, right? I didn't get a chance to watch game 1, but I just heard that the Oilers did really well. But to come back from 3-0 deficit and traveling that far from Edmonton, Florida, is and they still got it done and almost and lost by a goal at the end of the day. And and you know what? And this is the best thing that you hear is because in different sports, players will get together. Let's go congregate in LA Lakers. Let's go here. Let's go there, right? And they have a lot of money to work with, right? But when you got top athletes seeing that a championship together to get that special trophy, and they'll take less money where they deserve more. Let's be honest, they deserve more, and that just shows right there the team concept. It's like, you can't afford to go to the National Ball Hockey Tournament because you're a student, but you'd be value to our team. A couple guys coming together and going, listen, we got you a buddy pass, or we'll pay for your this and that, and that's where you miss sometimes in sports because it's too business-like. But when players decide this is a great group of guys, we can win a championship here or have a chance at a championship, I might have to take X amount of money less and this and that. That right away shows, leadership right there. That shows cohesiveness right there. And we're not talking about, hey, instead of making $30 million a year, I'll make 25. We're talking about, we're in the teens, right? And
Yes.
and so forth. So just like I said, just hearing this today, that Draisaitl's or different players will take a pay cut to play to keep that group together and to work towards that common goal. Regardless of the Edmonton Oilers, could be any team, right? You appreciate that, and it's a tough, 32 teams, only one winner, right? And if they're having this talk in the summertime of pay cuts and to keep that group together, that's a good sign. That's a good sign, and hopefully they can achieve that goal. So
Good leadership and good character in the locker room, and maybe you make it up in endorsements. I don't know, but it's at the end of the day, I think the NHL players are paid a lot less than what they should be, especially the star guys driving the game. But compared to the other sports, but very well said by you, Damps. And Sonny, you have anything to add before we close out?
No, thanks guys for a great conversation, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, we'll have another episode very soon. We're still trying to get Mitch Love, the assistant coach of the Washington Capitals, back on, former head coach of the Calgary Wranglers. But well, it's another one we'll hunker down in with and try to get to you guys. I know everyone loved the last time he was on with us. So, but Dams, again, really appreciate it. Long overdue, obviously, but it was the great timing with Sonny's announcement of him being a co-host with us. It all kind of worked in together. And we'll tag you on all social media fronts tomorrow when this interview comes out at midnight. So thank you again, and really appreciate everything you're doing in the community. And on and off the ice and on and off the floor of ball hockey. So great success going forward, Damps.
thank you, Josh, and thank you, Sonny, for this opportunity.